Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome to the tour. How are you doing? It has just started snowing. I thought that it's almost over with winter and snow, but now it seems that we're going to have a lot of snow over the week. I'm not sure if you can tell, but it's slightly snowing. Hi, everybody. Can you guys hear me? Can you see me well? Because for me, it looks like the chat is either frozen or we just have to wait for more Voyagers to roll in. Hi, everybody. Hello. Welcome to the tour. Hi. How are you doing? Are you guys here? Are you with me? Lynette, Becky, Ambi. Hi, everybody. We will start the tour in 9 minutes. Meanwhile, we have some time to chat a little bit. How was your week? Can you guys hear me? Are you here with me? Can you hear me well? I have my backup headphones because it seems that the battery on this Bluetooth headset can probably die. Fingers crossed it won't, but just in case I have a backup. Hi, Nat. I'm sorry, Nan. Hi, everybody. Hello. Can you hear me well? Can you see me well? Can you see the snow on my eyelashes? It is snowing in Moscow. Hi, everybody. Hello. Norma. Welcome to the tour. Mariska, hi everybody. Yeah, so this tour, I think that will be, hi Fraser, Nan, that would be, I think that will be a one-off tour, but we'll see how it goes. Maybe if it's kind of popular, you love the tour, maybe I will make it regular. Hello, best wishes from Winnipeg. Hi Fraser, how are you doing? How's your day going? Thank you for your wishes. I'm doing well. How are you guys? We're heading to we will have a very fascinating trip in our tour guiding school this month. In February, I'm having birthday in February, so I have a lot of great things in February because you need to have some things like a dead of winter to be inspired with. Good here, Winnipeg, with the wind chill last night. Did you say minus 40 Celsius? For real? Minus 40 in Celsius? Is it real? What? How are you guys kind of functioning when it's minus 40 outside? All the public kind of events, schools, everything must be cancelled, right? Hi, Adrian. I'm doing great. How are you? We are discussing the situation in Winnipeg. The weather is minus 40. Minus 40 Celsius. And I thought that I'm yelling and my mic is too close to my mouth. So I thought that minus 20 must be like the minus 25 must be something the most extreme I have ever experienced. Minus 40, the same in Celsius, Fahrenheit. No, it's not the same in Celsius and Fahrenheit. It's different. Getting better today. Oh, hi, Anne. Hi, everybody. Debbie, we will start. Hi, Sue. We will start in 5 minutes. Yeah, so we're going to have a fun trip to Sergiev Posad. Do you remember this is one of the Golden Ring cities? Beautiful city with Saint Trinity Lavra, Saint Sergius Trinity Lavra. And I'm really hoping to film something there. If not, because that will be our kind of educational trip to step up tour guiding game. Hi, Luan. Long time no see. How are you doing? How is it going? Super happy to see you. Diane, Brian, and Ursine George. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the tour. I'm super excited because I've just uploaded. Margaret, welcome. I've just uploaded, maybe yesterday, I don't remember, a few days back. I've just uploaded a new tour, and this is not specifically a tour, but a painting workshop, a painting class. My first ever painting class. But I'm not the artist, though I love painting, and my favorite part is kids illustration, but and sketching also. I love sketching. Um, oh, you joined my tour of Saint Monastery. Beautiful. Yeah, we're going to go there for some extra training for tour guides. So I will be, I don't know, maybe take some photos for you. And the new Picasso. Oh, no, no, no. Thanks, Luann. So I'm actually working with an artist. She's a friend of my mom. So she's just a friend of mine. She has been painting in this traditional Russian pattern for more than 15 years now. And she focuses on matryoshkas and Russian dolls. And so we decided to collaborate and to work together. And we pre-record this workshop, like kind of step by step. So I recorded everything, and I'm going to give my commentaries live. And also before the tour, I will give a little presentation about the history of Matryoshka. Hi, Galina. Привет, привет. Welcome to the tour. Yeah, so I hope that you guys will join me. The painting class will be at the end of no, in 2 weeks on February 15th, I believe. I was thinking maybe should I scheduled this tour for St. Valentine's Day, but I thought it's a holiday, so I decided to schedule this for February 15th. So I'm hoping to see you on my first ever painting class. I got so much inspiration from working with Maria, an artist. I wanted to paint Matryoshka myself because this is, well, first of all, it's easy because she gives kind of easy step by step guide, and so you won't mess up. And if, in case you do, that's totally okay. That's not a problem. That's just, to release your creativity, to open your creative flow, to just have fun creative workshop. That's the ultimate goal of this painting class, not to be like strict following all the lines and to be super stressed if you mess up with something. No, it's the opposite. It should be very fun, and you can join with your kids, with your like entire family can join this workshop. So I'm really, really hoping to see you there. I will probably post on our Facebook group with some promo photos with me and Maria, and to see, to show some of the behind the scenes, the process. It's a very fun actually master class. And my mom, she's also an artist, but she said I wanted to actually to invite my mom for this, but she refused because she says everything she does with painting, she needs some time. She works in kind of more a slower pace, so she prefers not to be in a rush. And since we have only kind of 60 minutes, it should be very structured. So um I'm going to work with my mom's friend who is also an artist. Yes, I'm keeping warm. I have a very long winter jacket. I'm not sure if you can tell. I'm keeping super warm. I have 2 pairs of socks. But to be honest with you, I'm so over with winter. I'm like so over. And February is super depressing. February and March are so dull and dark. So I'm just happy that I have some fun things happening in February. Again, I'm having my birthday, and then I'm having some fun trips without tour guiding classes, tour guiding school. So I'm really inspired, and I'm going to applaud some new tours. I'm very inspired to create this historical series, kind of presentation type of tours. So that won't be city tours, but mostly I would like to divide the history of Moscow into parts. Maybe if you're interested, please let me know. I would like to start a series with the first czars, the first rulers, like I would call it, I don't know, maybe like who ruled Moscow, who ruled Russia before the Romanovs, who were the first monarchs of Russia. If you are interested, please let me know, and I will create this tour. I will like embed in this in presentation. And Cynthia, Francis, Terry, Richard, Raheem. Hi everyone, welcome. Oh, it's time to start the tour. Hi everybody, hello, hello, and welcome to Moscow. Welcome to a beautiful street, one of the oldest streets of Moscow. Tonight it is currently 6 p.m. in Moscow. You can tell it is snowing. Can you tell? Is it catching on the camera? It is beautifully snowing in Moscow. It seems that winter doesn't want to leave. Winter is here. Winter will be here for full February, March, and hoping April will officially open the spring season, but we'll see how it goes. So, welcome to my tour. My name is Anna, and on tonight's tour, we're going to explore one of the oldest parts of the city. We are in the central part of the city. I'm actually just standing in front of the map, so I think it's a great idea. I will show you where we are. Literally, we're just in front of the Kremlin. And so, on tonight's tour, I would like to tell more about the history of the Russian church architecture. I would like to show you beautiful church architecture and tell the history behind. Yes, I'm wrap up warm. I have like this winter. It's not that cool though. It's minus one or something, but it's very humid, and it's like kind of rainy and snowy at the same time. So you need to still wear like the full winter outfit when you're out, especially if you're having a tour, when you're walking. My advice for you, if you thank you so much, Ivan. So if you're heading to Moscow, if you're heading to even St. Petersburg, even worse. I mean, weather-wise. So if you're heading to Moscow in February and March, and you're thinking that March is a spring month, you are so wrong. March is a fully winter month in Moscow. It is blizzardy, it is wintry. So without further ado, let's get started because I start to ramble too much. So I'm going now to flip the camera and miserable, exactly. So I'm going to show you where we are. So this is the map, and we are in the city center right up here. So let me show where we are. So this is the area that is called Kitai Gorod. It seems that, can you guys hear, or is it, let me wipe, I'm so sorry, let me wipe, excuse me, the screen, because I'm not sure if it's, is it blurry for you or is it just for me? No, it's not blurry. All right, perfect. So this area is called Kitai Gorod, historical downtown area, and we're here. So we're going to take a walk along this little street, very short street, and this is the Ready Park, and then this is where Red Square starts. This is St. Basil's Cathedral, and this is the Kremlin. So this is where we are in the heart of the city, and sound is perfect. Oh, thank you for letting me know. Thank you guys. And so I invite you to take a walk along Varvarka Street or St. Barbara Street. I think I will call it St. Barbara Street because it's more familiar for you, because it's actually the same St. Barbara in Russian is Varvara. We call her, she's Saint Martyr. We will talk about her. The street is actually named after, compared to Moscow. Oh, no, Rain, keep warm, please, keep warm. Um, so our first stop is this beautiful church on Varvarka Street or St. Barbara Street. And I would like to show you one of my personal favorite architectural styles of Moscow. This is a very unique architectural style because Russian architecture can be proud of two architectural styles. First, this is the Moscow pattern style. I will zoom in and you will see all these beautiful exterior decor elements. This is the church of St. George on the Pskov Hill. Pskov is a Russian city, and when Moscow became the capital back in the 14th century, and at the beginning of the 15th century. A lot of architects, of course, headed to Moscow. Moscow was a very influential city at the time, and this architectural style was born. It's called Moscow pattern style. In Russian, it sounds узорочье. And if you would like to know, this is my personal favorite architectural style. Yes, the blue stars on the dome, it means the colors of the dome are very symbolic in Russian church architecture. If you see the blue domes with golden stars, it means that the church was consecrated to the Virgin Mary. This is the color of Theotokos, or Virgin Mary. And the golden color symbolizes Christ, celestial glory, 12 great feasts. So everything is super symbolic. And so the Church of St. George on Pskov Hill, um, you're welcome, Luan. Thanks for asking. Um, the Church of St. George on Pskov Hill was built in the 17th century. So this Moscow pattern style was born in the 17th century, but um, it was actually renovated, and so they added another building later in the 19th century. You will see later this classicism style. But I would like to show you some of the um, pictures with more examples of Moscow pattern style, because me personally, I'm a huge fan, and I'm very proud that we have such a beautiful architectural style in Moscow. Again, it is very unique and you won't find it elsewhere. Of course, we have classicism, we have Baroque. Well, not that many buildings, especially in Moscow, in Baroque style, but this Moscow pattern style is truly just a unique. Take a look at these exterior decor elements. All the churches on St. Barbara Street were renovated recently in 2018, and so they are looking shiny and bright and new, beautiful. And they are not museums, they are functioning churches, so they do provide services inside all of these churches that we're going to see. Some of them are museums. I will show you where you can actually go to see the service, or where you need to buy a ticket if it's that museum. Take a look at this beautiful kokoshnik. This upper, like this portal over here, not the portal, but this element on top of the window, on the window frame, is called kokoshnik. It replicates the national costume. Yes, we have this crescent, and it has nothing to do with Muslim architecture, because this is one of the misconceptions that we have this half crescent, but we will talk about it. So please take a look here. So this building was added later, so it is kind of consisted of two buildings. The headdress women wore, yes, exactly. Kokoshnik was the part of the national costume. It was headdress. It was beautifully decorated with pearls, with gemstones. And so this part of St. George on the Pskov Hill Church was built later in the 19th century. It was added later in this classicism style. I personally don't. Well, this is everything. I'm very biased. You know, we all have opinion. And if you ask me, what do you think about classicism in Moscow? I would say that it doesn't fit in my personal opinion. I'm not an architect, but as a local, I'm not a huge fan of classicism, neoclassicism, architectural style, and purely if you just walk around and see like classicism type of building, I'm not a huge fan. But the great thing about Moscow, and why Moscow is so unique architecturally wise, is because in the capital of Russia we have so many architectural styles. They are all kind of combined. You will see the 17th century, and then immediately like boom, here you can see pattern style, and then classicism, and so this beautiful belfry. Again, everything was renovated recently. Yes, this is the bell tower of the St. George church. And so we are heading to beautiful observation deck, and take a look at this beautiful lights here. I don't think they're taking down all these lights up until the end of February, I believe. They have taken down all the Christmas trees, but the lights will be up until the end of February, I believe. And then at the end of February, I'm hosting another tour. It's called Russian Folk Festival, the Pancake Week. This is the end of winter. It's a very fun holiday that Russians are celebrating, and so I invite you all to talk about Russian traditions on my tour. Let's just have a look at Zaradi Park because we have this beautiful panoramic view from this observation deck. So we're looking at Zaradi Park. This is a recent adding to the city. It was opened in 2017. Um, oh no, I was wrong. They haven't taken down the trees yet. Take a look here. We still have some Christmas trees left. That's super cute. Zavredi Park that stretches in front of you is the first public park that was open in over 50 years. And before there was it was literally a dead land here for many years. Nothing was here, but originally in the Soviet days, they constructed a huge hotel. It was called Hotel Russia. I have a picture. It was humongous. Just take a look. It looked like a fortress. It was designed by architect Chichulin, and it was called Chichulin Trunk, and it was really humongous. It was kind of like a labyrinth and corridors. It was humongous. It was so huge that people even got lost there. And then it was it needed to be renovated. It was under a fire, and so it was taken down. They destroyed the hotel, and so for many years up until 2017 nothing was here. And so in 2017 the park was opened, Zaredi Park, and it means um, beyond the trading rows, because Red Square is just 2 minutes walking from Zaredi Park, and here in Zaredi Park, um, merchants, vendors who worked on Red Square, they lived here. They had their settlements. And take a look at this. Everyone asking about this steam. So this is the steam power station. It's called Power Station Number 1. This is the oldest functioning power station in Moscow. It has been functioning since the 19th century. You can see these steam plants and chimneys, and so it gives electricity and heat to the central district of Moscow, including the Kremlin. And this is a part of the Zaredi Park. This is an amphitheater, summer concert hall, and they provide a lot of free concert during the that's in the center of the city. Yes, exactly. We're just in front of the Kremlin. So this is a very beautiful park, and I have a separate tour of Zaredi Park. So I just wanted to give you an overview. And so now we are heading to our next stop on Varvarka Street, or St. Barbara Street, and we're going to talk about the Romanov dynasty. You probably know that the Romanovs ruled Russia for 300 years. And here on St. Barbara Street, according to the legend, the first Romanov, the first Tsar, his name was Michael, was born. And this is we are heading now over here. We're taking our way to the so-called chambers of the Romanov boyars. So the Romanovs were a wealthy noble family, and they owned a large lot of land here in Zaradi region. And so they lived here, and they are kind of chambers over here. It was a typical architectural style for the 16th century, for the 17th century. The chambers, that was a typical kind of architectural style. And so the Romanovs lived there, and today this is a museum. It is converted into a museum. You need to buy a ticket. You go inside, just take a look at this beautiful faceted design, which was inspired, by the way, by Italian Renaissance and this faceted pattern over here. So we have a picture. So how does it look? Oh no, that's different. Yeah, so first of all, that's how it looked back in the ancient times. and that is what you can see inside. It is a beautiful museum. So once you go inside, you can actually learn about, the house, how actually noble families of the 17th century lived, about their habits, about the households, everything just you need to know about the life of ancient Moscow, of the medieval Moscow of the 17th century. Here you can see one of the a griffin, a griffin, a symbol of the Romanov house. And so Michael, he was just a very young boy when he was nominated to the throne, when he became the ruler. His father was a patriarch. And so let me just get to another observation deck. So here we have a painting for you. It shows a young Romanov tzar, the first Romanov who took the throne, and what happened, why the Romanovs took the power. So before the Romanovs, there was another dynasty, and I want to make a separate tour about this dynasty. The dynasty who had been ruling Russia before the Romanovs were Rurikids or Ruriks. And unfortunately, or I don't know, it's like you cannot judge. You cannot say fortunately or unfortunately. It's just happened. So with the son of Ivan the Terrible, the dynasty of the Rurikids stopped, and it was the so-called times of troubles. And then a new czar was elected, Michael, from the Romanov noble family. And so he was born here, and they actually lived here for many years. It was the family mansion. And today, this is a very nice museum. Again, you can go inside, and this is also when Romanovs moved to the Kremlin, when they became the ruling dynasty. Michael became the czar. He was moved to the Kremlin with his family. It became a monastery here. And today there is a beautiful church store inside. I'm not going to live stream inside. I'm not actually sure if they're allowed to do that. It is a very tiny tea room where you can try um, monastery pastries, where you can drink a tea to warm up. It's a very popular place among tour guides, for because the Varvarka Street, it is super popular touristy street for locals, not specifically for foreigners, but for locals. And just take a look at this. How cute is that? I love this little installation in the window frames. And just take a look at this depth of the window frames, how thick the walls were over here. Alexei Mikhailovich was the father of Peter the Great. Alexei Mikhailovich. Over here. I just love it. So people, this is the name of the street in Russian, Varvarka, or St. Barbara Street. And so tour guides, after a long tour guiding day, we have, to meet our colleagues. We meet here at this church store to drink some tea because it is very cozy inside. And we're moving on. And take a look at this griffin. There was a story related to the revolution up here. Do you see the griffin? The coat of arms of the Romanov family. Well, it is out of focus, but this is a griffin. And what happened during the revolution of 1917, when Tsar loyal forces battling with Bolsheviks, during all this, they were shooting, and they actually damaged during the shooting. One of the bullets came straight into my finger is zooming. I'm sorry. So I ruined everything. And so it got into the griffin, and you can even see the traces now. It's just because my camera won't transfer it. You won't see that, but it is there, the place where the bullet came during the struggle of the revolution 1917. So this is a really, really nice, adorable museum. It's where you can feel the atmosphere of the ancient Moscow, where you can, it's a very slow pace type of rhythm here on St. Barbara Street. You're walking around, you're just looking at this beautiful Zaradi Park. And what I love about Zaradi Park is that the idea overall was to combine the historic legacy of the 16th century, the 17th century, and seamlessly integrated into the landscape, into the park, and to make it innovative, to make it interesting for the new generation. They have a lot of interactive museums. They have media center with 5D cinema where you can fly over Moscow or fly over Russia. And I love that they just preserved this ancient street of St. Barbara and they restored all the beautiful buildings here, all the churches. They convert some of the buildings into museums. They're taking care of it. This is the Znamensky Church and a part of the Znamensky Monastery. So, as I mentioned, when the Romanov family moved from these chambers to the Kremlin, the chambers were converted into the monastery named after a very venerated icon in Orthodoxy. It's called the icon of our Mother of a Sign, Our Lady of a Sign, and so in Russian it says Znamение. So that is why it was called Znamensky Monastery. And this beautiful church was it is a part of the Znamensky Monastery here. And here you can see these tiled fragments on the onion dome. So again, talking about the significance and talking about the colors. Sometimes when we see black domes, not in every case, but sometimes it means that this is a nunnery or a monastery. Black color of the domes. If it's a green color, it means that it is consecrated to the saints still being held in these churches. Yes, so these are the functioning churches. So while the chambers of the Romanovs, the chambers themselves are it is a museum. The monastery is open for visitors and you can go there, and they do provide services out there. But I must say that Catholic service is it differs from the Orthodox service, because during the Orthodox service you stay. It's a very long service and normally you stay throughout the whole service. There are some other differences and similarities. And so just take a look at this again. Beautiful classicism belfry over here. But again, what I love about Moscow, you can find the clash of epochs. You can find contrasts in the city of Moscow. You can find all just different types of food, all different types of um, ethnic groups. You can find a lot of architectural styles in Moscow combined just in one street, in one district. And this is truly fascinating. I know that architects and students who study architecture, they sometimes travel to Moscow to take just purely an architectural tour to learn about these multiple styles that we have. And these trading rows in front of St. Barbara, can you do the vertical? Yeah, sure, I can do that. No problem. In one, two, and three, so that you can take a picture. All right, going back in one, two, and three. Maybe you would like to take a picture with the Church of Our Lady of a Sign as well. It's a beautiful one. I love it with the fir trees and with the panorama of Zaredi Park. These beautiful lights. Looks very, very nice. And so this trading rows in front of St. Barbara Street is called Merchants Yard. And merchants used to trade here, and you can tell it looks more like St. Petersburg type of architecture than Moscow. It is because it was constructed by Italian architect who did a lot of projects for St. Petersburg, Quaringi or Quaringi. If you know Italian, please let me know how to pronounce it, because in Russian we say Quaringi, but I'm not sure. Maybe in English it sounds in Italian Quaringi. Yes, yes, you can tell this neoclassical design. You can see these columns, and so this type of architecture with trading rows built in this classicism style were super popular. And of course, Moscow wanted to have one, not just St. Petersburg. And Quaringi was commissioned. And so he traveled to Moscow and he built the Merchant's Yard. And today, this is one of the exhibitions hall. They provide a lot of fashion shows, sometimes art shows. They have a lot of exhibitions, and for there are exhibitions for art restorers. And one time I had travelers from Dubai, and they specifically traveled to Moscow because they wanted to take part in the exhibition here at the Merchants Yard. It was the exhibition dedicated to the art of making a plaster dolls, and that was really really nice because my mom, she also one time she, there was a period in her art career where she tried all these different styles with, working with modeling clay and with plaster. And so she really was into that. So that is why I knew that, and I was like, oh, you're making dolls. And I uncovered her Instagram page. That was really really nice. And in front of the Merchant's Yard, which in Russian says Гостиный двор, you can see another beautiful church built in the 17th century. And this is the church in the name of Saint Maximus the Blessed. Here you can see the green roof. As I mentioned, sometimes the green color of the onion dome means that it was consecrated to a saint. And this church was built in the name of Saint Maximus. Well, he was actually named after one of the saints of Constantinople, Saint Maximus. But there is another Maximus who was buried here, was one of the Moscow Fools for Christ. If you remember, we talked about Fools for Christ on our tour of St. Basil's Cathedral, which is, by the way, not that far from us. You can see the colorful domes of St. Basil's Cathedral from here. Can you tell? Do you remember we talked about St. Basil? So there was a special tier of fools for Christ back in the 16th century and 17th century. They were venerated, and they were, you know, um, they were treated with a lot of respect. So these fools for Christ lived, devoted their life to helping people, to preaching, and their lives were just full of sacrifice. They were giving people example, defending them from social injustice. And so St. Basil was not the only one. There were three most popular Fools for Christ in Moscow. There was St. Basil, who is buried in St. Basil's Cathedral, and everybody knows him about him because of the cathedral, St. Basil's Cathedral. St. John, the big cap, is also buried in St. Basil's Cathedral. Yes, Fools for Christ, a special tier of people who sacrifice their kind of consciousness and mind to God, to religion. And, they were, of course, they behaved weirdly, how we say. For example, Basil was naked all year around. He was just, rambling the streets and saying sometimes something that people couldn't understand, but they were at the same time gifted. They could tell the future, they could heal people, and they did a lot of good things for Muscovites. And Saint Basil was one of them. Saint John, who is also buried with Basil in Saint Basil's Cathedral. And there was Saint Maximus. Unfortunately, we don't know much about his life, about his biography. Unorthodox. He was, yes, these are the fools for Christ in Orthodoxy. They were they were not prophets, but they were fools for Christ. You can actually, I will share the link with you guys because this is very interesting. fools for Christ emerged in Russia in the 16th century, 15th century, and there was a significant meaning in their lives. They were just, helping people. They were gifted, but they were definitely not like they didn't act like we do, like common people. They were Orthodox, and later they were praised as saints. Basil, John, Maxim, they were praised as saints later after their death. And now to the most interesting part. Do you know? I have a question for you. Do you know when international relations between Russia and Great Britain were established? And who ruled the UK at that time? And who ruled Russia at the time? We are standing in front of the first embassy ever of Russia. This is the first British embassy, and it appeared in the 16th century. There are characters in some Dostoevsky novels who are fools for Christ. Well, yeah, I will share. Thank you, Fraser. I will share a link so that everybody can read about it. I think I have an article about Basil in English so that you guys can get more about it. Yes, that was Elizabeth, actually. Elizabeth the First was ruling the UK at the time and Britain at the time. And in Russia, it was Ivan the Terrible. And they were kind of pan-France. And there were rumors that Ivan the Terrible even wanted to propose to the Queen. He wanted to escape Russia because there was a certain period in his biography that it was kind of a breaking point. So you probably know because maybe of his nickname, the Terrible. This is, by the way, not a very correct translation. He was, the more accurate way to translate it would be um, Ivan the, well, he was not the Terrible exactly, but yeah, the green grass over here. It's just because we have a heating system over here. And so Queen Elizabeth and Ivan the Terrible were, pan-France, and Ivan the Terrible. At some point of his life, when his wife died, he was depressed and he hated Moscow. And after some of the personal problems in his biography, he just lost it totally, and he became this. Well, he was, he started to execute people, like a lot of people were executed, but before that he was actually a very religious person. He followed all the rules, but something just happened. It's very interesting about, again, the biography of Ivan the Terrible, but I would like to focus on this building. Again, this is the first ever Ivan the Misunderstood. um so this is the Old English Court. This is the name of the museum because today this is a museum. I have a picture of what is happening inside. Again, you can buy a ticket, you can get inside. And so when British wanted to trade, well, they were actually chasing the way to seeking for trading routes with India. And so they wanted to approach India from the north. And so they connected, they started to have relations with Russia, and so British merchants, diplomats traveled. They were they were invited by Ivan the Terrible, and so they traveled to Moscow. And after that, the first embassy. Becca, thank you so much for the tip. And so the embassy was built, and British ambassadors, diplomats, merchants lived here. So on the first floor, there was kind of their um, trading kind of space, and on the upper floor it was an apartment part where they lived, where they had their household. And I wanted to share a picture. I wanted to find the picture. This is, by the way, one of the beautiful representations of the Old English court back in the 17th or maybe 16th century. And so this is the picture of Queen Elizabeth II in 1990s when the president Boris Yeltsin ruled the country. She traveled to Moscow, and of course, she was present here at the opening ceremony of the Old English Court when it was converted into a museum. Because for a very long time, the building was actually in a very bad condition. It was they didn't even know that there was this architectural gem here. It was uncovered only in the Soviet days. In the 20th century, there was a very famous restorer architect Baranovsky, who was, there were some excavations here, and they uncovered this, and immediately they decided to work on the restoration, and they uncovered the full building. They decided to make the public museum out of it, and so now we have this, the first so-called English court. Thank you, Fraser. Thank you so much. So Queen Elizabeth II joined the opening ceremony of this museum. She was present here, and we do love this story. We love to share this story that the beloved Queen Elizabeth II was in Moscow um, to see the ceremony, the opening of the first ever diplomatic. That was really not just the first diplomatic mission just between Russians and the British. It was the first ever um, diplomatic relations established properly and opening kind of an embassy. That was the first ever embassy. And now we are standing in front. Galina, thank you so much for the tip. Now we are standing in front of the beautiful church in the name of Saint Barbara, who gave the name to the street. The street was named after Saint Mother Barbara or Varvara. Originally, the church existed here much earlier, but the building you see now with this just mind-blowing architecture, which was the project of Rodion Kazakov in the 19th century. So it was restored, it was kind of rebuilt. So the original wooden church didn't survive. And the street itself, Varvarka Street or St. Barbara Street, we know it was first mentioned in the chronicles in the 12th century. So this is probably one of the ancient surviving street of Moscow. And it also has, Margaret, thank you so much for the tip. Galina, thank you for the tip. Um, thank you guys for your support. And so the street, St. Barbara Street, has the most of the churches preserved since the 16th century. And this is the view of St. Barbara Street. She was a martyr. She lived in the 3rd century in Lebanon. And her father was pagan, and she was she wanted to convert herself into Christianity. She wanted to spread Christianity, and her father locked her in a prison. She was tortured to death, and she became a saint martyr. And now Saint Barbara or Saint Barbara is holy helper. She's saint patron of those who are you know in mining, cause astronauts, everyone who is kind of threatened by their profession. Not threatened, that's not the correct word, but everyone who is kind of in dangerous professions. Varvara has been traditionally helping them. You can pray to Saint Barbara for the protection, for to be saved from emergencies that can happen during your, I don't know, maybe something that can happen. And so you can tell this is St. Basil's Cathedral just in front of St. Barbara Street or Varvarka Street. Rodney, Martha, thank you so much for the tip, you guys. And I would like to take another angle on the street, if you don't mind, if you have some time. This is actually 45 minutes. I shortened the time for the tour, but we'll see how it goes because I wanted to give you kind of a super extra treat. I wanted to get to the observation deck over here of the Ready Park, if you don't mind, and then we will finish up the tour. I just hope that the entrance will be open because sometimes they close it. And I also wanted to show you the facade of St. Barbara Street from the other side. You can see this classicism style of the 19th century, the beautiful dome and the columns. It has a belfry. And this church is open for visitors. They provide services here. Thank you, Sue. Thank you so much. The street was renovated in 2018 because at that time, Moscow, I prefer to say that, got a very much needed facelift. In 2018, Russia hosted World Cup, FIFA 2018, and a lot of historical buildings, especially the downtown of Moscow, everything was taken care of, renovated, restored. Yes, this is the architectural lighting. I love it. And the great thing about Moscow is that you do have this beautiful lighting, not just in the center of Moscow. We do have even in the suburbs. We have in the remote parts of the city this beautiful lighting as well. They started to add this to the urban structure of the city recently, maybe in the last 10 years, I would say. Thank you so much, James. And let me show you the old English court from the other side. And because normally I do show this street, but very briefly, just as a part of my tour of Zaredi Park. But I wanted to focus just solely on Varvarka Street because it has so many gems and it is definitely worth seeing. Take a look at this wooden roof over here. Maybe you would like to take a picture with it. I would like to show you just this beautiful. It's very simple, very laconic, but it's just give you the representation of architecture of the 16th century with this wooden roof and these little windows and the doors. And now this is a part of the State Historical Museum, as well as St. Basil's Cathedral, which might be a surprise, but St. Basil's Cathedral is legally is a part of the State Historical Museum, as well as the main building. Do you remember this beautiful red brick building with um, Russian revival style on red square? So, and also the Old English Court is a part of the State Historical Museum. When tour guides have a license in the State Historical Museum, they do have a license and they are allowed to provide tours inside the St. Basil's Cathedral collection for the collection and inside, and the State Historical Museum. And also surprised to see white building in northern climate. Yeah, so that was a typical architecture of the 16th century. And first, the main construction material was, of course, wood. Moscow was wooden for starting from the 12th century with the first wooden Kremlin, and then they started to the only stone buildings in Moscow were just, of course, the churches because they were very significant, and then they started to build in white limestone, and then eventually they started to build in red brick as well. Will we be offering this tour again? Of course, if you guys would love to, that's my pleasure, because sometimes the tours that I'm planning to run for more than one times are not popular. That's just happens. It's I don't see any particular reasons. And sometimes other tours that I was not giving a lot of chances to be like top rated tours, they just became one of the most popular ones. So if you want to, I would it be it will be my pleasure to run this tour again, to see this tour. Oh, thank you so much, Noreen. All right, so yeah, I would like to top up this tour. Yeah, it's open, so let's go up the slope, and I would like to show you the panorama to wrap up this tour. I think that will be beautiful. So the Ready Park is stretched on the place where this Louis, thank you so much for the tip. So the Ready Park is actually instead of the park there was this Russia or Russia hotel. It was really huge, and then they opened the park. They decided to divide this into landscapes and into four climatic zones that we have in Russia. It's tundra, steppe, floodplains, and forests. And so whenever you go to the Ready Park, you can see all different climatic zones through the trees and some plants and herbs. And well, definitely in summertime it's more picturesque, it's more spectacular than in wintertime. But during the winter season, in the Ready Park, it's better to visit the pavilions because they have this media center with the 5D cinema where you can it's like um the same thing that they use in Disney World where you're sitting in the chair and then you guys hold on. I'm a little bit out of breath. I just would like to get on top of the slope and then I will move on with showing Varvarka Street. I don't want to fall from the slope. That would be just epic. On New Year's night Eve, we were here with my son, with my husband, and Dima, my son, he was just literally riding on the slopes of the Ready Park, which is totally not allowed. And so the security guy approached us. He said, "What are you doing?" And there were a lot of actually kids who were having fun. They were riding down these hills. It is very slippery. It is covered with ice, but I'm almost there. I'm almost on the peak of the mountain. Hold on, hold on. Here we go. Just wanted to give you this breathtaking view of the Varvarka Street, and also you will see it in many city guides of Moscow, in the city guide books, that this observation deck of the Ready Park is worth visiting. So we started our tour with the Church of St. George on the Pskov Hill with the blue domes and the new belfry that was built later in the 19th century. And then we can see the Romanov chambers and the monastery of Our Lady of Assign with the beautiful church. And then the Church of St. Maximus the Blessed with the green roofs. Behind it, it's the merchant yard. Currently, it is the exhibition hall. Then comes the old English court. And at the end, well, geographically, this is not the end of the street. This is the beginning of the street. Because normally when you say Varvarka Street, you start the tour from here, from Red Square. And here you will see a beautiful view of St. Basil's Cathedral and the Church of St. Barbara or St. Barbara. How beautiful is the view here. It's just fascinating. Thank you, Fraser. Thank you so, so much. Linda, thank you for the tip. From here, you can see a beautiful view of the ancient fortress of the Moscow Kremlin that was built in the 15th century. This is the tallest structure, Ivan the Terrible Bell Tower. From here, you can see the domes of the Archangel Cathedral, the golden central dome and silver domes. For those of you who joined my tour of the Kremlin, do you remember the one that was built by Italians in Italian Renaissance? Thank you, Noreen. Thank you so much. You taught it. Yes, it is a triangle shape. Did I say something? Yeah. So the Kremlin was built as a regular triangle by Italians. Exactly, you're right, Luann. It has kind of three sides, and one of the sides is facing Red Square. The other side is facing the Moscow River, and the western wall is facing Alexandra Gardens. So this is the some of you asked about the cathedrals. What is the main cathedral of Russia at the moment? This is it, Christ the Savior Cathedral. This is the head of the Patriarch of Moscow and all the Russians, so-called head of the Russian Orthodox Church. And this is the main church of Russian Orthodoxy. This is the biggest also Orthodox church. And so I would like to say a huge thank you for joining my tour of Varvarka Street. I hope that you love the tour. That will be my pleasure to run this tour again. I will schedule it, I don't know, let's say maybe for next month or maybe for the end of this month. Thank you so, so much for spending these 60 minutes with me or 50 minutes with me. Thank you for being my guests. I hope that my virtual tours inspire you to travel to Moscow. We are hoping to see you in Moscow soon. This is one of the skyscrapers of 1950s that define the skyline of the Soviet Moscow, the Stalinist Moscow. This is the residential building on Kotelnicheskaya embankment. I hope winter passes Yes, by quickly. I hope that too, but actually it will be over the winter only in the end of April. So thank you so much for being with me. I'm really happy that you genuinely enjoyed the tour. I will run this tour again, and I hope that you are having a wonderful week. And seeing you on Sunday. I will be running the tour from home. That will be my pre-film tour of the new Moscow metro stations. We're going to talk about the new architecture of the new Moscow, of the new subway of Moscow. And spoiler alert, they are beautiful. They are worth seeing. So, seeing you on Sunday. Have a beautiful upcoming weekend. And kisses and hugs to you from Moscow. Bye bye, everybody.